All right, guys. I got a very special guest today. He's Ingraves. He's from YouTube. He has a huge following. He has over 52,000 subscribers, I think, on YouTube. He's a great follow. He's a Ravens fan. Welcome to the show, Ingraves. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
No problem, man. I appreciate this because I've been trying to get some more AFC North talk
Hmm.
going on my channel here because, you know, it's going to be a bloodbath next year
Yeah.
between all four teams, dude. It's no joke. I think the AFC North is one of, if not the hardest division in football.
Hmm. And it can always go either way, anyway,
Right.
as we've seen in past years. And with the AFC North, it's usually like 99%. It usually like comes down to those last couple of weeks. It's never really a clear shot to who has control of the AFC North. So I expect this year for it to get right back to that.
Exactly. Now, unfortunately for the Ravens, there now normally, now, truth be told, I always refer to them as the Ratbirds on my channel. But I do that with it's nothing. I do that for every team. But since you're here, I'll call them the Ravens. But the Ravens really had a lot of injuries last year, and that
Mm,
really, especially the second game against the Bengals, that really, I
yeah.
mean, barely half the team were playing. Now, the first game, you guys are pretty solid, and we came in there and had a very solid game and won. Now,
Hmm.
going into this year, I know the Ravens are looking for blood and don't want to, they ain't going to want to get beat by the Bengals, four times in a row. So, what what uh what is the mindset there in Baltimore as far as the Ravens season last year? Are everybody just kind of like they're injured, or are they more like we got to make some changes here?
I think a little bit of both. Reason I say that is because one, they were injured, like literally everybody got hurt. And Ravens, they were fighting. They were fighting because they kept losing guy after guy, and this started even before the season.
Right.
But then even while the season was going, like every week it was somebody new, and every week it was somebody significant, and it would be a significant injury to somebody new. So guys were just dropping left and right. But the Ravens, they kept fighting, and they were at one point 8-3. That's when Lamar Jackson was still playing. They
Mhm.
were 8-3 and at the top of the AFC. And I
Right.
was just thinking, wow, how did we get here? Especially like with the way that they had been winning. I just didn't feel like it was something that could last forever. I was hoping that it would, but I was just thinking like, oh man, yeah, they are winning, which is the most important thing, but the quality of the wins, it just wasn't there. So then they lost a couple of games, then Lamar got hurt, and that was it. That
Yeah.
that, that was a wrap. But even when Lamar was playing, and even after he wasn't playing, just a lot of the decision making, the coaching decisions, and really just the philosophy. That's what a lot of us are hoping for. That changes with the Ravens is just their philosophy, because we know the Ravens, they're known. First thing when you talk about Ravens, most people think defense, defense,
Right.
defense, defense, and
Right.
they've been known for defense for forever. That's been their bread and butter. Defense, and then on offense, having a strong run game. But like it's a passing league.
Hmm.
And the Ravens showed last year, like they can throw the football, but we just want them to do that more consistently. We want them to do it better. We want them to do it more because the NFL, the way that the NFL even has the rules set up right now, the rules benefit the offenses so heavily.
Exactly.
And we just want the Ravens to open this offense up, and we want the Ravens to really just take advantage of that. So it would be a mix of hoping that everybody comes back and stays healthy this year, but also that they open a lot of things up on offense.
Now you brought up an interesting point. I was kind of curious about this myself, of the changes of the philosophy, and I know a couple. And me personally, I think a couple of those games, your coach lost you your game for going for it on fourth down.
Mhm.
Now, has that been brought up in the press conferences to him or anything? Is he going to pull back a little bit, or what has he said about that?
He said Harbaugh said that if he could go back, then he would change it. But that's Harbaugh though. Harbaugh's he's always gonna go for those 2 point conversions. And yeah, I most of them I disagree with. I was just not a big, and this was even before the play was executed, whether they converted or not. I just was not a fan of it, especially in those last 6 games when they were going for 2 against. They did it against the Rams, they did it against the Packers, they did it against the Steelers, the Browns, and I was just like, what are we doing? Like, let's just play for overtime.
That dropped you out of the playoff race, to be honest. All those times he went for it, in my opinion. That's
yeah.
I mean, and hey, I was here for it. I'm a Bengals fan, so I was happy he did it. But it helped me out. It didn't help you guys out too much, though.
And I know, like, it's funny because even the owner, Steve Bisciotti, he said even when the team was 8-3, he said it himself, like he felt like they didn't deserve to even be 8-3. He didn't know how they were like that, and he said that he didn't expect them to do anything in the playoffs because they were just too beat up. Right. So his expectations were low for the team with everybody that had got taken out from injury. But yeah, with Harbaugh, I just with Harbaugh, with Roman, with a lot of the play calling, that's another philosophy that we hope just gets better, like the situational play calling. That's one thing that we hope improves drastically.
Right. Now, one thing that you guys do have is a Hall of Fame kicker. And we have one, I think, and I got his jersey on right now. Shooter, Evan McPherson. I think he's going to be the next GOAT as far as kicking, and Justin Tucker broke a record, hit a 66 yard field goal. How did you? Obviously, I'm sure you watched that game. Yeah. How did Baltimore react to that? Because when I saw it, I'm like, holy crap! Because it hit the crossbar, and it could have bounced back, or could have bounced to the side. It could have bounced off. It bounced right over. that
was scary. It was really scary because in week 1 we had played the Raiders, lost to them in overtime, and then in week 2. Still the injury decimated team. We were getting ready to play the Chiefs, and I thought we were going to lose that game. I thought the Ravens were going to lose to the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been the Ravens' kryptonite. I was just like, oh no, there's no way we're beating the Chiefs. Then they beat the Chiefs, and I was like, oh wow, it was a pleasant surprise. So then during that Lions game, so we were 1-1, and during that Lions game, it's like, man, I know Hollywood, he had a bad game because he had several touchdown drops. And just the Ravens offense was just not alive in that game. So I was thinking, man, like it felt like it was like a letdown getting ready to happen. And then late in the fourth quarter on that last drive, after the offense had pretty much been dead all game, it's 4th and 19. And I'm like, oh, hopefully we converted, but 4th and 19, right. Highly unlikely. 4th and 19, Lamar finds Sammy Watkins, hits him. Sammy Watkins runs out of bounds. I'm like, wow, we just got a first down on 4th and 19. Wow, stuff like that just never happens. Right. So then Justin Tucker was getting ready to line up for the kick. I'm like, oh, 66-yard field goal, really? And he lined up, and I'm thinking like so much emotions are going through my mind. Even on that 4th and 19 play before the 4th and 19 play, I'm like, man. We're getting ready to be 1-2 and have lost to the Lions. Like, we're getting ready to lose to the Lions. And on top of that, we're getting ready to have the same record as the Lions. And I know it's just 3 games, but still, like, man, that's embarrassing. So after when he kicked it during the broadcast, the angle that they showed it made it look like he missed. And I'm like, oh man, wow. I'm glad they went for the kick. Yeah, Justin Tucker, we know he's the best kicker, but they missed it. Wow, we really lost to the Lions. That's crazy. But then I saw the refs, they looked at each other, and then they put their hands up. I was like, oh, we really made it. I couldn't believe it. It was crazy, man. So it was just a roller coaster of emotions in those last couple of minutes. And then, of course, on that field goal, after thinking that we had missed it, I was just shocked that we made it, but I was super happy because I'm like, okay, we don't have the same record as the Lions. We're 2-1. All right, we made it.
Right, exactly. And trust me, I understand the anxiety of kicks because Evan McPherson had multiple ones and playoff winning kicks and not a 66-yard field goal one, but he had a lot of 50 yards. So that's where I'm saying I think we got the 2 best kickers in the league. I mean, bar none. I think the Tucker and McPherson are the 2 best kickers moving forward. Now, we know that we both have one common enemy, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yes, I have nicknames for everybody. So, Dwayne Haskins aside, we all that was terrible that he passed away. Former Buckeye. My condolences go out to his family and Steelers Nation. That is a very, very rough thing to happen.
Yeah.
But moving into the quarterback room now, because he was going to compete for the starting position there. So it looks like it's going to be Trubisky. Are you scared of Mitchell?
See, Trubisky, he's sneaky, man. He's sneaky, and I think a lot of what has to do with him, and really what a lot has to do with any quarterback is the situation that they're put in, the situation that they're drafted to, because not all of these quarterbacks are bad, and it's crazy when you see some quarterbacks they go kill it in college, and then they get to the pros, and it's like, oh man, what happened? It's not that with a lot of these quarterbacks that they just all of a sudden they don't have talent anymore. A lot of it is their situation. A lot of it is the coaching staff. And with him with the Bears, sometimes he would have these sneaky good games. Sometimes he would have these really bad games.
Right.
But I'm very curious to see how this thing goes with him in a good organization like the Steelers. And with him, I think what they're going to try to do is try to take a lot of pressure off of Mitch Trubisky. And because the Steelers are they also known for defense and strong running game.
Right.
But Ben Roethlisberger,
the Ravens and the Steelers, you guys are identical as far as what you guys are known for, defense and run game.
Yeah, the Ravens, it was said a long time ago that they mimicked their philosophy after the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that it makes sense why both teams are sort of known for the same thing. But with the Steelers, I think they're going to try to just really alleviate a lot of pressure off of Mitch Trubisky and try to continue that strong running game. Of course, having him making some throws too. But I think that he's in a really good situation. And I think they signed him to like a 2-year deal for I forget how much it is per year, maybe like 12 mil per year, something like that. Well, whatever it is,
it's something like that. It's 2 years or it's an option year. I can't remember which either. One of the two. I don't remember. It's somewhere.
Yeah, but he's in a good situation, man.
Right.
And I think that he's gonna have an opportunity to sort of bounce back. Like he was on the Bears for a while, left there, and sort of got humbled a bit because you go from being a starting quarterback to being on the bench, like going to a situation where you know you're not gonna start with the Bills. You know, like he wasn't gonna come off the bench for Josh Allen. Well, unless it was like a blowout game or something. But, you know, Josh Allen is the guy over there. And you have like literally zero chance of starting there. So that's a humbling situation right there. But now to have an opportunity again with Pittsburgh, he's in a good situation. Initially I laughed at it when they signed Mitch Trubisky because I'm like, man, like really, Trubisky, that's what you're doing after Big Ben? But he can he's going to be able to do some things over there. And Steelers are a team that seen it myself plenty of times. Sure, you've seen it yourself plenty of times too, being a Bengals fan. But with the Steelers, no matter who they have at quarterback, they are going to be a competitive team.
Yeah, they're going to be competitive. Yeah, because of that defense. I mean, that defense is going to hunt all day long, and I hate to say it, but that's what's going to keep them in games. And Mitchell Trubisky, like you said, I agree that he's being put in a better situation in Pittsburgh than he ever was in Chicago because of the defense and the running game. And that's what the Steelers are known for. So that goes to, again, it's like all right, everybody said, well, this could be a down year for the Steelers, which I hope it is. I'm sure you do too, but it might not be because of that defense and of that running game. And let's be honest, like the Bengals, we were lucky for instance, as far as health wise, just compared to the Ravens. I mean, we were pretty much healthy all the way till we got to the playoffs. The playoffs, we lost, Larry O in the first playoff game. And right before that, we lost our right. Yeah, Uzama, yeah. And and right before the playoffs started, we lost Riley Reeve, our right tackle. But Uzama was able to come back for Super Bowl. But those two we lost for the rest of the playoffs and everything. So that's really the only injuries that we had last year. We didn't have any COVID issues or anything. So we got lucky as far as that goes. Now, that's where I come to the point where if the Bengals are going to compete in this, it just goes with any team in the AFC. You got to stay healthy. You got, and if just say the Ravens aren't healthy and the Bengals aren't healthy, and who knows what's going on with the Browns, because Deshaun Watson, I don't know when he's going to play because he might get suspended for 6 games. He might get suspended for 3 games. I don't know. You never know. If all that happens, the Steelers could get up there, sneak up in this thing again. And how irritating would that be?
Yeah, that would be something. As I say, with the AFC North, you never know, man.
It's very, very, very tough league. Now let's get to the Clowns. See, I got names for everybody. The Browns, I call them the Clowns. So they got Deshaun Watson, and this is how Bengals fans are a little worried of his guaranteed contract, because we have Jackpot Joey Burrow and how that's going to affect the contract negotiation with Joe here in the next 2 years. And as Bengals owners, they don't do guaranteed contracts very much. So we're
Right.
not very happy about this. It might make it even harder for us to sign up. They're going to sign up. I'm not worried about that. But
Oh
let's
yeah.
get to the football part of it. Deshaun Watson is a very good quarterback. And the
Hmm.
Browns, I think, have had everything they've needed except for a consistent quarterback. Now, in my
Right.
mind, they have one. As long as he plays, most
Hmm.
of the games. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how many he's going to be suspended. Where do you think that puts the Browns into the AFC North mix?
They had been in it with Baker Mayfield, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you said, there was a lot of inconsistencies with Baker Mayfield. So they did a major upgrade at the quarterback position. So they'll be right there in it too. They still have Nick Chubb. They still now, as far as their wide receivers, we'll see what they do there.
Right, right.
But they upgraded their offensive line a couple years ago like crazy for Baker Mayfield. Still have David Njoku as their tight end. They did cut Austin Hooper. They have
Mm-hmm.
another tight end on the roster too, who he's decent, but I forgot his name. And they still got Myles Garrett.
Right.
Got
Yeah,
Myles Garrett,
yeah.
got Denzel Ward. So they can still they're gonna be right back in the thick of things with Deshaun Watson. If he's still his same self, if he still plays the same type of game, yeah, they'll be there too. And I could see them, Will Fuller, who's a
Mm-hmm.
free agent, I could see them going after him at the wide receiver position. There's been talks that they still may be interested in bringing back Jarvis Landry. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see what happens with that. And I've heard about maybe Odell Beckham Jr. too, but we'll see. But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what the Browns do and how the Browns are now. Because again, they were competitive with Baker Mayfield, even
Right.
made the playoffs with him too, and won a playoff game with Baker Mayfield. So
They
now
beat
you
us
have
with
a
them.
Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
Right.
Now you got a Deshaun Watson, who is better than Baker Mayfield. There's a lot of uncertainty with him right now. We haven't we'll see what happens with that. But if when and if he does play, it's definitely gonna be a big upgrade and a big boost for Cleveland.
Yeah, and just all the stuff we just talked about. That's why I keep saying everybody talk about the AFC West, which don't get me wrong, the AFC West is going to be a really hard division too. But
Mhm.
the AFC North, dude, is no joke. I mean, there isn't a team on that list that isn't, in my opinion, a playoff contender, including the Squealers. I mean, I'm sorry, but Bengals fans aren't going to like that. But you got to look at it realistically. Yeah, they got a shot just as good as
Mhm.
anybody else does. I
Right.
mean, and so it is. It's gonna be a complete bloodbath. So it doesn't necessarily mean, and that's one of the reasons I think people think it's gonna be hard for the Bengals to get back to the Super Bowl, get back to the playoffs because of our division. Our division is just ridiculous. Now, I got a question for you about Lamar Jackson and his contract
Mhm.
negotiations here. Where are they at? Where do they stand right now with his contract negotiations?
Well, Lamar, the front office, they keep saying and putting it out there publicly that Lamar he's just not interested in contract talks right now. They said they want to get it done, but right now he's just focusing on football. Doesn't want to do the contract right now. And I think the reason for that is because last year he had a down year statistically as far as his touchdown to interception ratio. So if he were to sign a contract right now with the Ravens, he would get significant money. He would get nice contract, but it wouldn't be the best contract that he could possibly get because they would base it off of last year. Because it's what
Right.
have you done for me lately?
Exactly.
So with him, I think he's really just wants to bet on himself so he can maximize this opportunity because you only get your second contract once. And this is usually the second contract is usually the biggest one. And sometimes with some people, their third contract can top that. But most times the second contract is the biggest one. So you want to make the most of it. So, but right now he said, well, he hasn't said it out there publicly, but he's not talking to them about a contract right now. So I don't expect anything to get done this year. I think the earliest that it gets done is next off season. So hopefully he has a bounce back year and finishes out the year. I think as long as he finishes out the year, then he should be straight. And because the Ravens, like they know what they have with Lamar Jackson, they know who they are with Lamar Jackson. They know who they are not without Lamar Jackson. Because when he was out, when he got injured and he was done for the season, they didn't win any games.
Mm-hmm.
They won 0 games after he got hurt. There was one game before he got hurt where he was sick and he missed it, and they won that one game against the Bears.
Right.
But other than that, after he got hurt, that was it. They never won a game again. So his importance and his just how vital he is to the Ravens, it shows every time he plays. Even like there was a game against the Browns, like this got through 4 interceptions. threw 4 interceptions, and I was, oh, this is an ugly game, but they still won.
Right.
And I'm like, man, like that game. I remember that game. It did not feel like we won because he threw 4
I
interceptions. But I'm like, man,
I remember that game going, why are they still throwing the ball? like, he can't throw it to the right team. Like, what are you
yeah,
doing?
it was ugly, man. But yeah, I don't think they're not gonna get a deal done this offseason.
So are there any wide receivers in the mix as far as coming to the Ravens? I know they're always, Baltimore's always trying to upgrade their wide receiver position. Is there any guys you think that might be coming soon?
Mm, right now, I got some that I would hope for, but the Ravens, they usually don't move like that. Usually with the Ravens, they will get, because they have a Rashad Bateman who they drafted in the first round last year. You have Hollywood Brown who he drafted in the first round in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a lot of supporting guys like Devin Duvernay, James Prochet. They have Miles Boykin, Tylan Wallace. But I'm really hoping that the Ravens, they go and get like that guy. For me, I was hoping like they will go get somebody like a DK Metcalf. I would love that because he would just help open up this offense that much more. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love for it to happen. But the Ravens, the way that they usually move, like last year, they signed Sammy Watkins to a 1 year, $6 million deal, like $5 million guaranteed. So, but with him, we know his history, knew he had that. He can play, he can catch, he can move, but he has that injury history. And that's what a lot of us Ravens fans were worried about. And it showed up. He played about like maybe 5-6 games for the Ravens, and then he got hurt. And then he was never healthy after that. So it just, I would expect the Ravens to like the kind of move that they would usually make, be getting somebody like a Julio Jones.
Yeah, there you go.
And with Julio, I wouldn't mind if they got Julio Jones, but if they did, then I would still want them to still whether they draft a receiver early in the first 3 rounds or they traded for somebody significant. So Julio Jones they wouldn't have to rely on Julio Jones. He would be more of a luxury than a necessity. But as far as receivers with the Ravens, it's not really expecting much as far as change. I'm hoping for, but not really expecting much.
Yeah, Julio Jones, like you said, if you get him, the one thing you have to worry about is injuries for him because that was the biggest problem he had in Tennessee. And getting back to your point about Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson to me is the most important player to any team. Like he is the Ravens team. If you guys don't have him, because the offense is so centered around him and around his skills, around what he does, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. I'm just saying it's so centered around that when he is gone, it is really hard to replace him at the quarterback position. I mean, it's hard to replace any starters, but I think it's a bigger ask for somebody to come in and replace Lamar Jackson for the Ravens because of just how basically he is your offense. I mean, last year when he wasn't there, you didn't do a whole lot, to be honest. And I just think that's very interesting of how he is that big of a chip for you guys compared to everybody else.
Yeah, that's true. Without Lamar, the Ravens would probably be a pretty bad football team, man. I saw somebody on Twitter the other day. They asked the question like, "Man, what if Ravens never drafted Lamar Jackson? Where would they be at right now?" And of course, you never know. They could have drafted another quarterback. They could sign somebody, but you think about the Ravens without Lamar Jackson, it would not be pretty.
So. Well, the thing I've always said this: they were smart about drafting him because I say smart. They drafted, and they're smart to integrate the offense around his skill set because they didn't try to make him a pure pocket passer like lots of people would try to do to him. They integrated the offense around what he does well, and that's the perfect place for him to be, and that's why it's so weird to see him play for anybody else or where the Ravens would be without him. It's really, really a unique situation.
See, and this is why that I'm really hoping. A lot of us are hoping for more of a philosophy change because in college he played in a more pro style offense, but what the Ravens do is not a pro style offense. So that's why we're hoping that they really open this thing up because it seems like they've been just having the reins on him for the longest and not letting him loose. So that's why. With Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, and Harbaugh, and just really Steve Bisciotti too, because everything starts with the ownership.
Right.
We're hoping that they make some changes with their philosophy. Excuse me, but it's especially on offense and just really getting the most out of this offense, getting the most out of Lamar, because a lot of times the Ravens, they rely on his skill as a runner instead of skill as a passer. And that can be very detrimental to the team because they put so much emphasis on his legs. They have so many QB design runs and whatnot. But if you really want to make the most out of the offense, you got to use that arm more. You got to use your wide receivers more, your tight ends more. Well, they use Mark Andrews a lot, but you got to get your pass catchers involved a lot more.
Exactly.
So hopefully the Ravens this offseason, they make some changes to it. They do some tweaks here and there to really upgrade that offense.
Yeah. Now, this is one thing I've always said is the philosophy is there's always young running quarterbacks. There's not a lot of old running quarterbacks. And you look at Cam Newton, for example, and that's what my fear is going to happen to Lamar Jackson is they're going to run him to death. He's going to take, you can only take so many hits. So as far as you keep saying, open up the offense, I think it's also to protect Lamar too. So has a longer career for the Ravens. Let him stay back there and try to make pass from the pocket because it just, like I said, case in point, Cam Newton. I mean, he took so many hits. He's just not the same player anymore.
Yeah, he's not. And I think a lot of his injury situation was handled pretty poorly by the Carolina Panthers. Well, Lamar Jackson, he doesn't really take many hits. He takes some every now and then, but he's pretty good at protecting his body. But still, yeah, a lot of the design runs and whatnot, they gotta they gotta cut a lot of those out. Because of course, like with Lamar, I know that there's a perception that Lamar Jackson is like a run first quarterback. But he's not. And so many of us, like Ravens fans, we'll be watching the game and Lamar Jackson will be holding that ball forever, just looking downfield, waiting for somebody to come open, waiting. We'll be like, oh, take off. But he'll be waiting. So we just got to find a happy medium to where he's still because he's still going to get his run yards. He's still going to use his legs and whatnot. But just wish it would be less by design and more by just him being spontaneous and him just taking off, him making that decision like on a passing play. All right, I don't see anybody, I'm taking off. So we'll see how this year goes with all that.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting, and I can't wait for football season. I say here in Cincinnati, it's still cold. I said if it's not gonna be if I don't have football, I want it to be summer. So I'm tired of the cold weather because I miss football. But Ingrave, I appreciate you coming on. You give me almost a half hour. Please do me a favor, tell everybody about your channel. I hope everybody goes and subscribes to you and everything else you got going on.
Oh, the channel is Engraving Vids. It's Team Keep It Clean, like you see in the back. And what that is just it's a family-friendly channel. Everybody's welcome. Old, young, boy, girl, mother, father, husband, wife, brother, sister, whatever. Everybody's welcome. Fans of whatever team you're a fan of, we just go on there. We have fun talking football. I'm a Ravens fan, of course, so we talk a whole lot of Ravens, but we also talk other teams around the league, different moves being made. We have a series on there called Questions from Subscribers, where different people who are subscribed, they'll send their questions in about whatever NFL team, whether it be the Ravens or whether it be somebody else. They'll send their questions in about their team and we'll answer it in a video format. So yeah, it's something for everybody on there. So feel free to come through.
Absolutely. It's awesome. That's how I found you. So again, I appreciate you. We'll have to do this again sometime, maybe sometime during the season.
Yeah, no problem. For sure, man.
All right, man. Take it easy. Thank you.
You too.